Welcome back. I want to get back down to the streets of Venezuela, where, as we've been discussing throughout the hour, there's been breaking news, protests breaking out, an attempted coup underway by opposition leader Juan Guaido. We've been watching protesters in the streets since early this morning, and just a moment ago, we saw violence breaking out in the streets. As you're going to see, I'm going to warn you, this is very disturbing. A military vehicle running into the crowd, not only running into protesters, but running over. It appears running over some protesters in the streets of Caracas. That is playing out as we speak, and that just happened as we were speaking. I think we're trying to get connected with a reporter on the ground, Stefano Pozzebon. He's been watching this. Now I'm seeing fire. They've now attempted to light one of the military vehicles on fire. As we're watching these protests, look, as we've been discussing, this has been a tense situation throughout the morning. The question has been all along, what level, how violent would these protests be? Juan Guaido has called for their position and their demonstrations to remain peaceful, as he has said they have called for, and their position has been all along. What we are seeing right now, though, is anything but peaceful. Military looks like a line of, with the graininess of the video, it's hard to see, but what it looks like is a line of military there on one end of the street, protesters on the other. And for some reason, what looks like these military vehicles, whatever reason they were provoked or not, going into the crowd. We can probably rack it back up and we can show you what happened a moment ago. I believe we've now reconnected with Stefano Pozzebon. Stefano, you're in Caracas as well. This is what we're watching right now. This really disturbing video is playing out in another section of the city. But what we just saw was a military vehicle running into the crowd of protesters and appearing to run over some of the protesters there in Caracas.
Yes, definitely tense moment here in the Venezuelan capital. Definitely tense moment from the early hours of today. Just the hours ago, we witnessed a gunfight between military forces loyal to Ambassador President Nicolas Maduro, and those military forces were joined side with Juan Guaido and with the opposition protesters. Right now, we are in Altamira Square, very close to the opposition government, and of course, homes are difficult. The situation is tenser and tenser, and we see civilians around us all the time.
As we can tell, for all of our viewers, as you can truly obviously understand, with all the kind of the chaotic situation, cars honking, everything that's going on around Stefano, sometimes it can be difficult to keep the connection. But we are looking at, I mean, I can see just from what we've been watching, as we've been watching this video, this shot coming in all morning. This is escalating even more than what we've been seeing throughout this hour. A much bigger police presence has been building. You can see water cannons coming from one top of one of these military vehicles. Looks like they're backing up to get back in formation as the protesters have been continuing to approach them. Guys, let me know when you have Clarissa Ward or any of our other reporters on the line so we can get them in. And also, if we can re-rack to show that moment when, let's replay this for you, everybody.
Mierda, marico. Uf.
And look, we don't know what was happening before this moment, but we do know that as the protesters are there, the police are on the other side of that, what looks like a highway. And that military vehicle very clearly driving straight into this crowd of protesters. I think Clarissa Ward, our chief international correspondent, is back up with me right now. Clarissa, we know that these protests can be tense. We know that there's always a potential of violence. But that is always horrible to see.
Absolutely, and we have seen the use of tear gas. We have seen water cannons being used in Venezuela throughout the course of this protest movement. But there's no question, Kate, that what we're seeing today is a very meaningful escalation. I mean, you can really sense the tension hearing the reports from CNN's own Stefano Pozzebon on the streets there, who's actually seen, live ammunition, gunfire being used. Now you're seeing, I'm just looking down at the pictures as I talk to you on the screen, those images of military vehicles. There's clearly a sense of it's chaotic, and because it's chaotic, it's very difficult to get a clear picture of exactly what is happening. Who in the military has defected to join the side of Guaido? Have any generals committed to the movement of Guaido? What does this mean going forward? Where is Maduro? Why haven't we heard more from him, the president, Nicolas Maduro? He's put out a tweet saying, "Nerves of steel, we will win." But I think at this point, people would expect to see something from him if indeed, as he says, this is that the situation is in control. People would expect to see something from Maduro, a televised statement or something speaking to his claim that he still has control over the people. Another wild card, Kate, that people will be wanting to know is, where do the Russians stand? When will they weigh in? Of course, Nicolas Maduro's most important outside backer is Russia. Russia has committed an enormous financial lifeline to the Maduro government and to his cronies. And as we've seen before, they've taken a very pro-Maduro stance, but are they willing, as the pressure ratchets up, as potentially more military elements defect and join Guaido, how will that affect their calculation? Traditionally, when we've seen Russia backing its allies, whether here in Venezuela or most noticeably in Syria with Bashar al-Assad, they are willing to go that extra mile, and they are willing to stay the course. That raises the question of, what will the U.S. do, Kate? Yeah. How serious is the U.S. about how committed are they to Guaido? We've heard President Trump say over and over again that military force is an option, that it is on the table, that the U.S. does stand by its commitment to Guaido, who they have recognized as the lawful president of Venezuela, along with, by the way, more than 50 other countries. So this is definitely an inflection point. And the question is, has it reached a critical mass? Has it reached a tipping point? And what are the outside players willing to do to ensure that their man survives, Kate?
And that's exactly right. And as we were discussing earlier in the hour, the momentum here could be shifting moment to moment. And where the momentum lies, oh my God, there's that video again, as we're looking at a military vehicle running into the crowd, and it looks like running over at least one protester, as you see people gathering around trying to carry someone away. And then you're going to see another military vehicle come through, and the protesters trying to light it on fire. I'm looking down, and as you were saying, Clarissa, as we were watching this violence breaking out, once again, this happened moments ago, I was just looking down and saw that leaders here in the United States, not only from the administration, but over on Capitol Hill, they're watching this very closely. Marco Rubio has been speaking out, has been a very forceful critic of the Maduro presidency, just wrote about this very incident. The entire world just watched a National Guard armored vehicle ram into a crowd of civilian protesters, Marco Rubio writes. How far will leaders of the military allow this assault on their own people to go in Venezuela? So we know it's not only being watched, it's being watched everywhere. What you and I are watching together play out on the streets of Venezuela. We're going to continue watching this. We're going to have much more of this breaking news. Stick with us, guys, after this.